Good morning. Today is Wednesday, March 31st. We are on part 8 of the miracles of Jesus. And today we are going to go from the Jordan to the pool of Bethesda. Dear Diary, day 2 of our trip in Israel continues as we head to the Jordan River. Natalie and Mom and most of our group are getting baptized. I was baptized in a lake in the Lancaster area when I was 16, but I'm going to take everybody's pictures. At the stop for the baptism, we all scrambled to get in line for the bathrooms, our shekels in hand, and once again wondering why they do not have bathrooms in those darn tour buses. Oh, but if you're getting baptized, you get to use the bathrooms without paying a shekel. Because I am one of the few not getting baptized from the bus and I'm able to get a great point of view from where I'm standing, I am holding 9 cameras to take shots for people as they receive their baptism. Thank the Lord, my pastor's wife had small colored stickers in her pocketbook, and we put them on the cameras with the names of the people so that I know whose camera has to be used for each baptism. Otherwise, I would have had a tremendous amount of wet, irritated buddies on that bus if I used the wrong camera for the wrong pictures. And they moved these baptisms along. I had enough time to grab a camera, point, click, put it down, and so on. You get the picture. The town we are in is called Didnt. Our pastor Mark baptized everyone from our group, and that was really touching. The facility has white robe-styled tunics for every person to put on who is being baptized. And while this is, yet again, highly commercialized for the tourism base, it's still very precious to see all these people of all nationalities standing in line to have their personal baptism. It's interesting, but to my knowledge, Jesus never baptized anyone. I suppose that's because his death was a baptism for the entire world. John 3:22 reads, "After these things, Jesus and his disciples came into the land of Judea, and there he remained with them and baptized." But then John 4:2 tells us that Jesus himself did not baptize, but the disciples did. Do these verses contradict each other? Not really. John 3:22 means that Jesus was with the disciples. He was probably explaining to them how to do the baptism, but he was not doing the actual physical dipping of the person in the river. So why didn't Jesus baptize? Well, if he had, more than likely the people who are very legalistic would have argued after his ascension that it was no longer something that had to be done because Jesus himself was not there to perform the baptisms. So he presented baptism as being apart from him. Enough so that when the New Testament church was born, and throughout the church age, they would continue to carry it on as we do today without Christ being here physically. Perhaps the reason Jesus didn't baptize was again so the legalist didn't insist that you had to be baptized in order to receive salvation. Even so, there are many people who argue that you must have water baptism for your eternal status, when in truth the Bible never says that in any way, shape, or form. Being baptized does not mean that we are saved. It is an expression of our faith to show others what we believe. Our faith in Christ alone is what we receive our salvation through. It's not a physical act, because then we would negate the verse that God says, "For by grace are ye saved, through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." Finally, water baptism is important. Again, it's an act of obedience. It's a testimony, but it is not the end-all of our salvation experience. In fact, it's just the beginning. Let's go on to the miracle of the man at a pool called Bethesda. When Jesus healed a man at a pool called Bethesda, he did not place the man in the water for his healing. He kept him outside of the water. We'll see this in John chapter 5, verses 1-9. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season within the pool and troubled the water, and whosoever was first after the troubling of the water was made whole of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying and knew he had been there a long time, he said to him, Do you want to be made whole?" The impotent man said, "Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me in the pool. While I'm trying to get there, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." And immediately the man was made whole, took up his bed and walked, and the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to the man when he was cured, "It's the Sabbath day. It's not lawful for you to carry your bed." They asked him, "What manner of man is it that said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" And he who was healed wasn't sure who it was, for Jesus had not revealed himself, and he had conveyed himself away, since there was quite a multitude in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said, "Behold, you're made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him whole. And from that point on, the Jews did persecute Jesus and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, "My Father works, and I work also." Was it possible that there was healing in these waters, or was this just an urban legend? The crowd seemed to believe that there was. And after all, in 2 Kings chapter 4, people were healed by a pot of purified stew. Naaman, who was a leper in the Old Testament, was healed by washing in the River Jordan. The New Testament speaks of the shadow of Peter falling on people after Christ's ascension, and his faith was so fervent during that time, people were healed just by standing in his shadow. But this man today with Christ, he was 38 years in a physical prison. His suffering seemed to be quite extreme. He's called a paralytic, and he couldn't move himself. According to John's account, the place was packed with sick people. And yet the greatest physician to ever walk the earth was walking among them, and they were all so busy watching for a supposed angel to move the waters that they missed the presence of God physically walking by them. There's such a visual of a learning lesson for me there, it isn't funny, but that's for another time. How many people wait for any kind of sign when all they need to do is ask the great physician who is literally walking with us on this earth? Some people become very discouraged and they put away any hopes of ever being healed. That might have been what was going on with this man, because Jesus says to him, "Do you want to be healed?" Jesus must have sensed this man was full of despair, and he wanted him to say the words. And he didn't really answer Christ directly. He said, "Well, I have no one to help me get in the pool when it's stirred." He didn't say, "Yeah, I want to be healed." But yet Jesus tells him to rise up and walk. The man didn't say anything smart like, "Well, I'd walk if I could." It tells us that instantly he was healed. He felt strength flowing into his atrophied limbs. That's astounding. That's astounding. And is it possible that Jesus healed this man without water, to add another visual for why he chose not to baptize? That's a pretty good thought process there. Did he heal on the Sabbath deliberately to poke the leaders of the temple out of their self-righteous rituals? That's also probably quite possible. You see, in those days, the rabbis were so legalistic that they would argue a man was sinning if he carried a needle in his robe on the Sabbath. I can tell you personally, when we were in Israel, we tried to use the elevator in the Sabbath, and they make the elevators run automatically on the Sabbath so that you don't have to reach up and push a button. And how do I know that? Because I got stuck on that stupid elevator. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't going to the floor I wanted it to go to. I just wasn't waiting long enough to see how far up and down. It literally would go every floor and stop, floor, stop, and then back down, stop. But it never let you push the buttons. It was set for the Sabbath that way. That's how legalistic they are in Israel with the Sabbath. And that, I think, is why Jesus continued to poke them by healing people on the Sabbath. A few days ago, I said that Jesus was a radical. And he was. Jesus was radically set to share the gospel that his Father had asked him to share. He was radical about promoting the love of God to everybody, including the lepers, within his company. He was radical, and he took under his wings people of questionable character and some heavy personal issues. And he was radical enough to go against the hitters of the Jewish leadership in the day. I am grateful for Jesus and his radical love. And tomorrow we will continue with more of the miracles of Jesus. May the Lord bless you and make his face to shine on you and give you his sweet shalom. Bye.